Hey guys, firstly, thank you guys for having us here. And I think this is something long overdue. So great, let's get started. Dad, I think the first question is if you can share your vision behind creating the perfect fusion of beauty and functionality in fans art, which is share your thought behind creating fans art.
There are multiple thoughts that I would have when we started creating fans art. One is nobody in India who had introduced luxury fans in the Indian market. I'm happy to see it over and over again in developed countries, especially the United States. And I thought it would be a good idea to introduce it to the Indian market because in India, there were so many luxury items for home interior and hospitality interior that were available, whether it was floorings, carpets, sofas, drapes, lights, textures on walls, different kind of veneers, woods, so many marbles, granites. But 99% of the homes had plain ceilings with plain white fans. The max you could do to a fan is probably have a brown fan or a black fan or something like that. So this was something that nobody had looked at, nobody had considered. And I thought it'll be a great idea to introduce this in the Indian market and look at the response. And the luxury fans or the designer fans do have great designs. They are more heavy duty. They have a very good functionality. The most important part of this functionality is they are whisper quiet. They are soundless. So it gives that luxurious feel and the comfort that a high-end home or a high-end hotel or any of those places needing fans would want. And India being such a important country where, in a sense, with terms of the weather, that it's hardly anywhere in India where people do not use fans. So it was actually a no-brainer, come to think of it, with so many thoughts around it about luxury. So I did a little study and, connected with the factories, the best factories in the world manufacturing these products, and collaborated with an American brand known as Fans Art and introduced that in India.
Nice. I think I'll answer this in a slightly different way, but from my perspective, I was in the US at the time. I was completing my education. I was working with EMC Corporation, where I continued for a little while into fans art. And I remember Dad, who was at the time leading a semi-retired life, had said, "Hey, we're looking for these really nice fans for our home, and they don't seem to be there in the market. India is full of fans in every home, and everybody needs a fan. And we're originally from Bombay, where it gets hot and humid. And Dad and Mom were making up the home in Bangalore, and they were looking for really nice artsy fans that have an aesthetic appeal, and were absolutely okay to pay a higher price for it. But these didn't exist in the market. So one morning, Dad told me, he said, I think we should do this." And I mean, I was still in the US at the time. I was visiting for Christmas. And I actually thought he was absolutely crazy. Dad, who was manufacturing and exporting garments for 30 years, all of a sudden, I didn't know anything about the fan market. I don't know how much Dad knew about the fan market. But one fine day, he decided to do it. And, Dad was always tinkering with things like a mad scientist, bringing cool new things, most commonly ahead of its time. But that was, I still remember that day. There was, I absolutely thought that it was just a conversation, but here we are, 10 and a half years later. And that's when March 2012, Fans Art started. I'd moved back to Bangalore in May of 2012, 2 months after Fans Art started. And I continued working with EMC Corporation for another 2 years as a technology consultant. So I would finish work and then go to the showroom later in the evening to see what was going on and so on and so forth. And so I was always hanging around right from the start. And then it was only in 2014 that I quit EMC and joined Dad in Fans Art.
Well, I'd also like to add, on this question that while yes, it was in my mind that something like this could do very well in India, but I actually saw, these fans in LA during one of our trips, and that's when I was able to set up the collaboration and reach out to the factories and introduce this here.
When we do say family business, and I know I've had a lot of friends who are a part of family businesses and people who've gone to places like ISB for family business courses and so on and so forth. I think while understanding, while discussing the family dynamic, the agreements, disagreements, whatever it is, I think the big difference in what the definition of a family business and Fans Art, while of course we are a family, is that a lot of family businesses are running for, at least 3 decades or more, or at least 2 decades or more before the next generation sort of comes in. And by then, a lot of things are all set. I believe, at least in the few conversations I had, 70 to 80% of the revenue was coming in from existing or pre-existing relationships. And here, I think the dynamic of the business is very, very different. It's a lot more kinetic energy. It's a lot more, product growth. And of course, for a lot of the family businesses that existed 20 years ago, product life cycles were a lot longer that they survived in the market. And so I think that's why Fans Art has been fun and special and kept us on our toes. And while we are a family between me, Dad, and Mom, I think it's been a little different as a business. And so the dynamic that the second question talks about is slightly different. So I wanted to add that as a context. So Dad, the second question is, discuss the role of family culture in the family business, using family dynamics and tradition as an advantage in the family business.
Well, the biggest advantage any family has to have family members as a part of business is the trust factor, especially in smaller organizations. So the other advantage that we would have is, we are a very, very small family, and we are very thick as a family. And between the family, we do not have any differences as, who makes what. I mean, whatever is there, a part of the family is for everyone. So what I look at it is the thought, I would say rather the culture of the family is, the culture is the love and affection and the respect between all of us. We don't have anything beyond that as a culture of the family. But I would look at the benefits of doing it as a family. My wife is very good. She's a people's person. So as in a retail role, she does very well to handle the retail business of Fans Art. So she handles the retail showrooms more in Bangalore, the flagship showrooms, which build relationships with architects and interior designers and the different the set of clients that we would have. Tarun plays a role of the younger gen who is more tech savvy. So from social media to e-commerce to the features on the website to the tech side to a part of the business development is handled by Tarun. The traditional business role is taken care of by me. That is between the product development, the logistics, the finance, and the HR. So all those automatically fall into my lap. So in the organization, we actually have, three different groups of people. One is who handle retail, which report to my wife. One is the youngsters who are like probably around 30 and below. And the entire team reports into Tarun. And then we have my gen, who are by and large 50 and above, who handle the rest of the things. So we have a great divide. And if you come into the office, you will have a bunch of oldies and a bunch of ultra youngsters. So it's a very nice divide. And the people who report into Tarun, they are handled by Tarun. I've got nothing to do unless somebody needs advice or something beyond their control. But otherwise, I think it's divided very well, and it's very enjoyable, because what happens, my team also feels very young with the youngsters around. That's why I told you I feel 35.
So I'll quickly add to this, and like Dad said, I think Dad and the entire team of I was going to say oldies, but I'm trying to find a better term for it. They basically anchor and back end the business with everything, right? And I look at the front end of the business, from the go-to-market, from the business development to the online, and now I think most of the acquisition is online. And you look at my mom, and she does the retail here in Bangalore, and I think it's, even though it's carved out pretty nicely, I think a lot of things that we do, I find me asking Dad and Dad asking me, because I think we value each other's perspectives, but also each other's brains and like intelligence. So every time I kind of knock on his door and Dad says, "What do you need?" I said, I always say, "I need 5 minutes of your brain." And so I think those sort of like perspectives, and the fact that sometimes I don't have an answer. I take a course, I read a book, I do a workshop, I do stuff like that. And I come back and I tell Dad, "Hey, by the way, this is what I learned. This is so cool." And Dad's like, "Yeah, this is what this is." And Dad, without doing any of these things, just happens to know the answers to a lot of these things. And while I spend a lot of my mornings doing a lot of case studies. But I think back to the question, which is the role of the family culture in the business. And I also want to highlight a couple of the other questions, which is how sustainable, question number 8, which is how sustainable family businesses provide financial security and help the economies. And question number 9, how it can be the backbone of the economy in creating wealth and providing jobs, and so on and so on and so forth. I think the first thing that Dad mentioned, and I'm going to bring it back over there, is the word trust, because is the word trust. The Indian economy, as it was introduced to me after having worked in the US for a few years before coming here, was that the market norm and the social norm directly relate to trust. And here, building trust in any brand or in any company is probably the most important thing, because any customer will ask, "What happens if something goes wrong? Will you be there to take care of me?" And this and that. And that trust, I think with a lot of family businesses, they tend to last. And unless and until how you see companies exiting and IPOing and all that, traditionally family businesses are meant to go on generation after generation. And so the name of the family generation or the brand, the family business or the brand, and the ideal word, if you think about Tata, right? Tata, people love Tata. People love everything that they do because it's Tata, because of the values that have been created by Mr. Ratan Tata and by his predecessors and so on and so forth. They've created such a lovely sense of trust in the country that anything Tata does today is automatically taken in a good light. And they've been able to flip companies for the better as well. And so whether you talk about the family culture, whether you talk about the family businesses in the economy, whether it's wealth or jobs or whatever it is, the longer the name lasts in the market, the more trust it creates. And of course, it needs to be backed up by the products and the service and the experiences and all that. And all of that collectively, constitute the word trust. And so I think just echoing Dad's words in terms of trust, I think that's how I would like to address question number 2, and as I guess a part of 8 and 9. The next question is, how does the father-son relationship work in a family business, coming from 2 different generations, having different educational backgrounds from different eras? How do you adapt the knowledge and technology to your businesses?
Well, I think this is the most simplest question because we try to complement each other. Tarun with his modern education in the US, and his education with Stanford. And me with my experience, with my age, with being involved with so many different activities and startups and companies. So I think it is the experience and the modern education and when Tarun's experience. So we try to complement each other, and we strongly believe, together, we make a big difference. In fact, if there's any meeting that I'm going for on my own, I say, Tarun, come along, because together we can achieve a lot more together, and we are able to brainstorm at level. It's not that I never feel that since I've been in business since more than 35 years, and Tarun is in business since lesser number of years. I mean, he adds in, extremely, very, very good values in our thought processes, in the policies, in strategies. So I think we complement each other and, take things from there. I have, complete, faith that, even if I'm, not here, and if Tarun has to run the show on his own, he will probably do it even maybe better than me.
So I want to add a separate dimension to that. Firstly, thanks. That was super nice of you.
Did I take your breath away?
I think the relationship is very surprising, right? Because it went from me trying to earn the respect of my parents to actually then finding such a crazy passion about the business that all we think about is this, right? But I think in a larger sense, I actually never thought that I would work with my family. Never thought, and there is a reason also. Dad never did it. He was always Dad's been a self-made man, and so I always thought that I would never work with the family and do my own thing, which I am doing a couple of things apart from Fans Art. But that being said, I think this has been such a pleasant surprise because I now spend time with my family in a way I never thought I would. We all have a common sense of passion. We all have a common goal. And that there are hobbies that don't necessarily, find commonality across generations, unless and until father-son are playing golf. But if you see here, like I find myself spending time with the family, and whether we're on vacation, whether we're out late night, we always find ourselves talking about this common goal, and then we find ourselves aligned, not just in business but in other things in life as well. And however our discussion is, whether it is strategic, whether it is logical, whether it is allowing each other to reason out, I see that working together has improved those discussions in other parts of life as well. So I think it's a very cool dynamic that I share with my parents because of this phase of our lives.
I'd like to add something very interesting to this. I feel very blessed. The reason is, when I started my business in 1986, by 1989, I was able to request my father to shut down his business and come and join me in the business and help me with my business, because the kind of growth I was seeing. And so I had the good fortune of working with him. And then, once Tarun finished his education and his experience with working in the corporate world, he could join in the business. And so I've been able to, work both ways with my father and with my son.
Yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun, which actually takes me to the next question, which is to discuss the future of the family business and ways to prepare the next generation for succession.
Well, I think the most important way to prepare the next generation is to give them your values, which you think are very important. Values of building relationships, values of valuing your business itself, the kind of passion, the value of your place of work. I think values are very, very important. The other thing is to, let them flow in with your systems of the business and give them that the freedom to add, improve, and do the trial and error to improve everything that we've been. Because let's face it, there has to be a difference of a generation. What systems we have in place, I was very, very happy and keen that, that Tarun works in another corporate companies or in multiple corporate companies and learn some values and some, betterments from there and introduce them into our family business, which he has been doing. And in today's day and age where there is so much knowledge, there are so many things like training programs, TED Talks, books, and all that, which add value to your businesses, which Tarun has the patience and to read, to learn, and bring it into the business. And I have a mindset of not, having any resistance, but to, let it come in and, do our trial and error to improve our systems. So I think as long as we can spend a few years together, I don't think we need to, prepare the younger generation for everything, because the younger generation is definitely much more smarter than us, more informed than us. And I'm sure that as long as we give good values and we have the flow running of them, being a part of the business, I think they'll find their way automatically, and they'll be swimming much better than us into the waters we've already set up.
Yeah, I'll quickly add to this. I think how you call our generation to be smarter, faster. I also look at it as there is this crazy pandemonium going on in our generation, which I think is great for us to work with you guys, because I think you guys are a lot more resilient and provide that stability. And I've used this before. I love that. I feel like our sort of generation loves to just show up on the field and swing the bat, right? And I think as long as there is that Sachin on the other side, then Sehwag can come out and swing this bat without really worrying about anything else. So that sort of combination really works. And I think coming back to the question, which is the ways to prepare for future and so on and so forth. I think one of the good parts, at least in our experience, is that I think Dad as a person is very logical, very patient, very resilient, and is not scared to have the tough conversations. In fact, encourages some of the tough conversations, the hypothetical scenarios, and just, conversations of being prepared. And this comes in or outside the business. And these are conversations that every family should have, irrespective of whether they're in business together or not. How do you keep a balance between being an entrepreneur and contributing to your family business? I think, and to add context, I spend about 50% of my time in Fans Art, which is the designer fan business. I spend the other half in a couple other roles. I started a company called Levo Labs, which does software consulting and software services, and a part of that time goes into a company called Excelist, where I'm the CTO and the co-founder. And I have, my other co-founders are these amazing gentlemen who've done some amazing work in their lives, based out of the UK and the US. So I think for me, I had this other side of the coin, which allows me to learn and bring back to fans art, and vice versa, right? I can bring a lot of what I've learned in this back here. But if I were to, take, say, 80-20 and say, okay, I'm going to take 80% and run a portion of the business and 20% and focus on the growth, I just then replicate the same thing over there. And I think for me, what's really important is to build systems around everything, so that then it allows me to just focus a lot more on growth. And yeah, I think once the processes and the team and everything is in place, it just allows me to then do what I'm best at, and that's how I sort of balance my time.
There's one question that we have here, that how should the next generation follow their passion and not have the pressure of joining the family business? So, I mentioned that we have been very open. We have had our children, follow their passion. But at the same time, the door is always open for them to walk into the family business, because families set up businesses so that their generations can take it forward. Having said that, there are some of my friends who have got good sized businesses, and the generations do not want to take on those businesses and run them. So at a certain point, they exit from the business, they sell the business, they transfer the business, they do a lot of those things. So here also it is like this, that Tarun is involved in technology businesses on his own, and at the same time he's involved in Fansart along with us in the family business. We always encourage their passion, and we tell them, do what makes you happy. That is most important, because if you're not happy with what you're doing, you're never ever going to do a good job out of it. You're never going to feel good. And the life should not be only about success. Life should be about happiness, and success will follow. That's what we strongly believe in. So there's never been any kind of a pressure on any of our kids to walk into the family business. It is purely by their choice, Tarun's choice, that he would come into the business. At the same time, he would follow his other dreams, because we are not satisfied with doing one thing. We want to do multiple things. So there are a couple of other activities that I also follow as a separate business verticals. But again, it doesn't take too much of my time. So yeah, I'm able to focus most of my time on Fansart and spend about 20% of my time doing other things.
My thoughts to young leaders and entrepreneurs while they join family businesses and also follow their passion of becoming entrepreneurs. I think, I'll use myself as an example, because, it may be just one perspective and not the holy grail, but I happen to be moving back to Bangalore at the same time where Dad was starting Fansart. I was moving back to Bangalore at a time where the Flipkart revolution was going on. I continued working with the company that I was working with for another 2 years. And that's when I got to hang around Fansart and develop a passion for it. Yes, seeing Flipkart, even I was like, oh, I'm going to get a bunch of products. I'm going to start e-commerce. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And there were two things that really stuck with me. And one of them was my love for technology. And the other was the fact that I loved selling, and I could sell technology. And that's what I discovered at EMC, that I could sell technology. And I remember I got advice from Dad. I don't know if you remember this, but Uncle Ajay gave me some advice. Ajay Goyal, Uncle, if you're hearing this, I think he's on DLC as well. But he told me, if you love technology, there's only three things you can do. You can either create technology, you can take it to market, or you can invest in it. And then he said, okay, you're just, you're fresh out of college, you're doing the job. Invest karna jab ye auqat hogi. For now, you have to select whether you can create technology or take it to market. And I had spent some time in the lab, and I didn't really enjoy the creation of technology. Maybe because I was at large corporates and I wasn't tinkering around with everybody else in a startup type of scenario. It was very structured. You were only a part of a very small portion of it. But as soon as I moved to technology sales, I really enjoyed myself, and I realized that I found a passion in technology and in the entire take to market side of technology. And so, having moved to Bangalore in 2012 with the Flipkart revolution and fans art and everything, I think for me, following my passion was not family business or entrepreneurship. When here, it was all kind of crossing paths for me. So I think out of this story, if I have to share with people, I think identifying their passion is half the battle. Once you've identified what your passion is, whether entrepreneurship is that vessel to take you. I mean, at the end of it all, it's not like, it's not the happy ending that you're chasing. It's what you do for your 10, 12, 14 hours a day that really counts towards your happiness. And so if you're following your passion for 10, 12 hours a day as an entrepreneur or as a family business, do it. There are people who say, I will do a little bit of both, and I know I'm doing that as well. But one of the pitfalls of doing both is finding yourself in that limbo. I would just suggest to go out there, do it, give yourself a timeline saying, if I need to try something, give it 3 months, give it 6 months, go bajao, give it all of yourself, do it with your whole heart. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. The faster we fail, the faster we learn and move on to the next thing. And if it's family business, great. If it's entrepreneurship, great. If it's 0 to 1, great. If it's 1 to 10, great. Whatever it is, whatever kind of value you want to bring to the market, however you want to live your life, identifying and then executing is sort of what I would suggest.
I think whoever can work with their Gen X, they are truly blessed, and it's very, very enjoyable. And it also kind of keeps us on our toes to keep learning newer things, because we can't look silly in front of our kids and, hey, we don't know this, we don't know that. I mean, you guys are the ones born with smartphones in your hand. We didn't have computers, we didn't have laptops, we had nothing. So it's very hard to learn at a later date. So, but again, the good thing is, one of our family values, which is the first value that we teach our kids, is humility. And so if I do not understand something, I'm able to go with all humility to my son and say, I don't understand this, please teach me how this is done. And it gives me a lot of pleasure, to learn from him. When you teach your kids, whether it's walking, running, cycling, swimming, or 1 + 1 is 2 and 2 + 3 is 5, and if they teach you back something on technology, I think it's a very, very good feeling. You feel very good that the kids have evolved so much, and you see how easy it becomes to expand and to grow in your family businesses with them around. As long as we are open, to let them swing the bat the way they want it, how they want it, as long as they're able to maintain those relationships with their humility, with their intelligence, with their passion, I think it can be a great combination, a powerful combination for 2 generations to run businesses together. I have a friend whose 4 generations today work together, and I do see that the oldest generation has a lot of resistance to the things that the youngest generation does. But I think it's easier for us If we as two generations are able to take the business on to the next level and the next level, and we succeed together. Sometimes I feel that when we me and Tarun used to play badminton together, and I used to make him run on the court, and at a certain point he started making me run on the court. But now I feel what we are doing when we are sitting in a business together, that we are on the same side of the court playing with somebody else. And I want his team to win, he wants my team to win, and we want our team to win. So, it's such a mutual feeling at fans, so much more passion, so much more energy between us that, we feel the difference. So I think that's the best, takeaway I can, share with, the folks who would be, watching this fireside chat.
I just want to say, like I said, like that shed, we're on the same side of the table. And whatever we do with work, logically, emotionally, whatever it is, we get to replicate that in other realms of life. And so, solving those problems together, achieving certain goals together, whether it's work or non-work, is great. And we were able to establish that via this medium. And so, yeah, I'm just very grateful that, life has taken me down this path, and I get to spend time with my family this way. And yeah, thank you folks at DLC for finding value in us, and giving us this opportunity to contribute with our story and some of our values on this platform.